We have your people. Pay or they die. The message flickered across the entire quantum channel grid, hijacked mid-transmission during a peaceful trade negotiation between EarthGov and the Kralix Consortium. 3 humans. Names redacted. Status, alive for now. The Galactic Council expected panic. The Kralix expected instant compliance. After all, this was standard policy in most civilized parts of the galaxy. You steal something, you sell it back. Especially sentient resources. That's just how the game was played. What the Kralix forgot, what the entire galactic community had somehow failed to document properly, was humanity's doctrine regarding hostage situations. And that was, don't. The ship that didn't turn around. Lieutenant Celine Rourke of the UHN Resolute was halfway through her black coffee when the call came through. No pleasantries. Just a data packet, coordinates, species profile, threat declaration. She leaned back in her chair. Didn't even blink. Just toggled her comms and said, navigation, burn course. Weapons hot. Bridge crew, no speeches this time. The Resolute didn't send an apology. Didn't contact the Galactic Council. Didn't ask for clearance. It jumped. Straight into hostile space. The Kralix problem. The Kralix had gotten bold. Ever since their first skirmish with the humans ended in a ceasefire, they'd convinced themselves that Earth was bluffing. That all those horror stories, the jungle wars, the zero-atmo boarding ops, the orbital drop assaults, were exaggerations. They told themselves that humans were just another hot-blooded species. That the rumors of them going berserk when one of their own was threatened were myths. They called it emotional instability. They mocked the term Death Worlder as outdated propaganda. And now they had 3 humans chained in a bunker beneath a war-cratered moon and thought they were holding the high cards. Wrong species. In a low-lit chamber filled with slime-slick walls and the smell of industrial acid, one of the captors leaned over the human woman chained to the floor. He hissed something in Kralithian that roughly translated to, "You'll fetch a good price once they stop pretending they don't care." She grinned, blood on her teeth. "Oh, we care," she rasped. "But you clearly don't get it yet." The Kralix squinted. "Get what?" She leaned forward and whispered. "You just kidnap people from a species that doesn't do ransom payments. We do retribution. Arrival, not a rescue mission." The Resolute didn't cloak. Didn't hide. It announced itself. Hard drop into orbit. Burned its way through 3 Kralix patrol craft without a word. Didn't even collect debris. Inside, the bridge lights went red and Celine Rourke stood at the helm like an executioner. The crew had one standing order. "We're not here to talk. We're here to retrieve." The galaxy watches. Galactic Council feeds went wild. Hundreds of species tuned in, trying to interpret the human response. Some still thought Earth would pay. Others thought they'd negotiate. And a few of the older civilizations, those who remembered the Soul Wars or had read reports about the Dreadnought Sovereign leveling an entire pirate moon after a hostage bluff, felt a shiver. The moment the Resolute opened fire, the galaxy knew. The Kralix had made a catastrophic miscalculation. Surface protocol, hammerfall. The drop was surgical. 5 insertion pods screamed through the atmosphere, shaped like tungsten spears. By the time the Kralix targeted them, 2 had already landed. The pods split open and out came men and women in black armor. Not soldiers. Not diplomats. Operators. The kind of humans whose names were never spoken aloud in council meetings. The kind whose dossiers had sections redacted by black holes. Their first move wasn't toward the captives. It was toward the command post. Because, as Earth's doctrine stated, neutralize decision-makers first. The rest will learn. The lesson begins. Kralix forces never had a chance to mobilize. Their comms died first, jammed with human noise. Music, quotes from Earth war history and one message repeated in multiple languages. Surrender is acceptable. Resistance is terminal. This is your only warning. The Kralix tried to counterhack. They didn't last 30 seconds. The humans weren't invading. They were cutting out a tumor with the efficiency of surgeons and the fury of a storm. Inside the bunker, the captives, 2 women and 1 man, heard the explosions. One of them, still half delirious from the torture, croaked, "Is that artillery?" Another said, "No. That's homecoming." Doors didn't open so much as implode. And through the smoke walked Rourke herself, sidearms smoking, eyes cold. She didn't say anything poetic. No tearful reunion. No speeches. She checked their vitals, tapped her comm and said, "All assets retrieved. Tell the ship, burn it down." The final act. They left nothing standing. No towers. No bunkers. No files. But the humans didn't just erase the Kralix installation. They broadcasted the wreckage. Before jumping out, the Resolute sent a final signal through the same channel the ransom had come from. Dear aliens, we don't do ransom payments. Next time, don't make us teach this lesson twice. A shift in the stars. Afterward, every major slaver faction began rethinking their business model. The Kralix consortium fragmented. No central leadership survived the strike. Council leaders issued frantic new regulations regarding the capture of human personnel, including emergency clauses and automatic surrender protocols. And in the shadows, rumors grew of a new human fleet. One with no official records. Ghost ships black-flagged. Some called them the Retrieval Corps. Others whispered a simpler name. The Payback Division. The message echoes. The Galactic Council sat in stunned silence. Even the Zerati, infamous for their shrieking debates, remained quiet as the final transmission from the humans looped for the 12th time. Dear aliens, we don't do ransom payments. Next time, don't make us teach this lesson twice. Counselor Jexerin of the Authari blinked all 6 of his eyes, mandibles twitching. They destroyed an entire Kralix installation without declaring war. Worse, came the cold reply from Counselor Myvax of the Krell Dominion. They didn't even consider it worth declaring war over. The silence returned, because they all knew what that meant. The humans hadn't escalated. They had simply cleaned up. Kralix, fallout and ashes. The Kralix Consortium, once a dominant economic syndicate with ties across 12 sectors, crumbled in less than 36 hours. Every major affiliate severed ties. Every transport flagged Kralix cargo as hot. Every station with a Kralix presence suddenly found itself swarmed with local militias, eager to distance themselves. No one wanted to be associated with a species that had earned Earth's attention in that way. The term Kralix rapidly became slang for fool who pokes the bear. Their home planet, Velzer Prime, issued a desperate broadcast declaring they were not involved in the hostage incident. They pleaded neutrality. They begged. Earth never responded. But neither did they attack again. That silence was louder than any threat. Inside EarthGov, the hidden hand. Beneath London's Quantum Dome, in a black glass building with no official name, EarthGov's Strategic Retaliation Council met behind sealed doors. 10 people. None in uniform. One wore a farmer's clothes. Another had the sun-weathered skin of a deep space hauler. One looked like a civilian therapist. But all were killers in policy form. At the head of the table, Director Myra Zhao scrolled through reports from dozens of sectors. No emotion. No wasted words. Anyone object to marking the Kralix sector as inactive zone, level Sigma? Nobody spoke. One by one they tapped their neural confirms. Green lights blinked. Just like that, Kralix space was dead. No human trade. No human tech. No human mercy. Forever. The death economy. Humanity's refusal to pay ransom wasn't a moral principle. It was economic doctrine. In 2145, after the Sultak incident, EarthGov calculated that the long-term costs of encouraging hostage-taking exceeded any immediate losses. They didn't advertise it. They didn't preach it. They simply followed one cold rule. Make it unprofitable to touch our people. Every slaver network, every pirate faction, every bounty ring in the galaxy had to reassess. If you kidnapped a human, you didn't get paid. You got erased. No negotiations. No stalling. Just black ships falling from orbit, and not one word of explanation. And the rest of the galaxy? They were finally beginning to understand. The Empire's arrogance. Far from the Kralix ruins, in the marbled halls of the Silenar Empire, Emperor Valtorin scowled. He watched the humans' transmission on a loop, claws tapping the armrest of his golden throne. The apes make a mockery of order, he snarled. Destroying a legitimate extraction team over 3 citizens? His advisors remained silent. Because not one of them dared remind the Emperor that those citizens had walked out on their own feet, while 37 Kralix lay dead. Not one of them wanted to be the one to say, perhaps we should tread carefully. The Silenar had never bowed to threats. But this wasn't a threat. It was a demonstration. And that terrified them more than any war declaration. The disappearing slavers. Across the stars, something started happening. Slaver ships began disappearing mid-route. No distress calls. No signals. No debris. 1 week, 8 ships gone. 2 weeks, 19 confirmed disappearances. By week 3, rumors began to spread of a new fleet, black hulls, no transponders, no warnings. Witnesses, the few who survived, described their ships being hacked mid-flight, engines shut down, life support stripped, and then nothing. The slaver worlds tried to go dark. They disabled comms. They moved in convoys. It didn't matter. Whatever this new human unit was, it didn't use council clearance or fleet markings. And it didn't leave survivors. Diplomatic paralysis. The council scrambled to respond. Some factions wanted to censure Earth for unauthorized military action. Others wanted to propose a joint task force to track the Black Fleet. But behind closed doors, realpolitik ruled the day. Because every representative had to ask themselves one thing. What happens if we anger Earth? They all remembered the story of the Gorlan Pact, a powerful alliance that once embargoed human trade for violating council stability. The humans hadn't retaliated. They just invented quantum vacuum storage and stopped using Gorlan shipping lanes. 6 months later, the Gorlan economy collapsed. 3 of their 5 moons were sold to Earth corporations. Now the Gorlan people speak English in school. So no one wanted to anger Earth. Not even the Council's strongest military powers. The Shadow Fleet moves. Aboard the Eclipse, one of Earth's classified retrieval vessels, Commander Harlan Ricks leaned over a map that no one outside EarthGov was allowed to see. 52 red markers blinked. Each one a known slaver hideout. "We hit 3 already," his lieutenant said. "Ready for 4. Harlan tapped the 4th. "Go silent. Full insertion. No chatter." Then he looked out the window at the stars and said quietly, "They think we're cleaning house. They don't understand yet. We're building something new." A message to the next fool. 1 solar cycle after the Krolix incident, an unknown signal echoed through the slave markets of Omlin Station. No origin traceable. No encryption needed. Was a voice. Female. "Come. Human. To those who traffic in human lives, we will find you. You will not be warned again. There will be no bargaining. There will be no court. This is your final chance. Burn your chains. Or die in them." The Omlin incident. 3 days after the message echoing across Omlin Station warned slavers to burn their chains or die in them, it happened. The Stellar Coin, a luxury frigate owned by the Doskari Syndicate, docked at Bay 17. It never left. Security cams caught brief glimpses, just blurs. Human-shaped shadows slipping through sealed blast doors. Heat signatures cold as vacuum. 17 armed guards, each with enhanced reflex mods and powered exosuits, taken down in under 30 seconds. The prisoners, over 400 beings from 12 species, including 28 humans, were found standing outside the Syndicate vault. Every slaver in the complex was dead. Not just killed. Neutralized. Pressure point assassinations. Neural spike overrides. 0 collateral. 0 destruction. The prisoners said the team left without saying a word. But they remembered the insignia one of them wore, burned onto the side of their shoulder pauldron. Chains // equals. 2 slashes breaking a chain. The galaxy would soon come to know it by name. Chainbreaker Protocol. Slaver panic. Every known slaver empire triggered emergency protocols. The Niharii Syndicate began relocating captives to mobile prison freighters, thinking constant movement would confuse the human hunters. The Kazekh Triad started uploading their prisoner records into off-site databases, hoping to trade locations later as leverage. But none of it worked. The Chainbreakers didn't need trackers. They already knew. They hit 3 Niharii freighters in one night, mid-jump while inside folded space. No survivors. They hit the Triad's data vault on Zal Prime. It was supposed to be unhackable. The next day, over 10,000 captives across 41 sites woke up with their locks open and corridors lit in green. Some said they heard whispers over the comms. "Run. You're free. We'll handle the rest." The Galactic Council's crackdown. Cornered by rising panic, the Galactic Council declared the Chainbreaker Protocol an unsanctioned paramilitary network in violation of interstellar law. They issued warrants. They offered bounties. They organized peacekeeping fleets to guard known Syndicate facilities. But here's the thing. Those fleets didn't fight the Chainbreakers. Because they never saw them. They just found the aftermath. Walls melted from the inside. Security drones turned to slag. Entire slave processing bays empty, doors wide open, no alarms triggered. It didn't make sense. Chainbreaker didn't operate like a military force. It moved like a surgical ghost. And at the heart of it all was Earth. Still silent. Still making no claims. No announcements. No demands. Earth didn't say they were behind it. They didn't have to. The galaxy already knew. Empire in denial. In the cold towers of the Silinar Empire, Emperor Valtorin refused to acknowledge the threat. "They are terrorists," he growled. "Nothing more. We will outlast them." But deep in the Silinar intelligence divisions, his own commanders whispered differently. The Deathworlders had been underestimated. Not just in combat power, but in strategic resolve. They were fighting an ideological war. One that didn't end when they won a battle. One that didn't care about council votes or trade sanctions. They had declared the very concept of slavery an unforgivable offense. And they had the reach, technology, and sheer ruthlessness to back it up. The Silinar Empire still held 9,000 humans across their colonies. That number would soon drop. But not in the way Valtorin expected. A quiet conversation on Earth. In a small seaside cafe in Lagos, Nigeria, two women sat drinking coffee under the shade of solar cloths. One wore a simple yellow dress. The other had cybernetic eyes and a neural uplink port at her temple. "You sure this doesn't violate council neutrality?" asked the cybernetic woman. The one in yellow smiled. "We're not doing this under EarthGov," she replied. "We're doing it because we remember the colonies." That was all she needed to say. Because everyone who lived through the first Martian collapse remembered what it was like to lose contact with civilization. To be forgotten. To be written off. Now Earth had reached the stars. Now it had power. And it had decided no one else would be forgotten again. Especially not its own. The new warships. When the humans first entered the galactic scene, their warships were considered clumsy, overbuilt, inelegant. Now, they were invisible until they fired. The new fleet, unofficial, undocumented, moved in low-gravity arcs between subspace folds. Most didn't even look like ships anymore. They looked like fragments of black glass wrapped in magnetic field cloaks. With no exposed engines. No thermal bloom. Nothing. Aboard the flagship Yokai, Commander Vera Tomlin issued the words that would enter galactic military history. Targeting Silinar Slave Station T-47. Lock and blind. Leave the children's quarters untouched. And remember, no slavers walk out. Ever. One jump later, T-47 blinked out of existence. Allies in the dark. As fear of the Chainbreaker protocol spread, something unexpected happened. Other species, ones who had long hated the slave trade but lacked the power to act, began helping. A Trelvani priest leaked slaver maps to human agents. A former council diplomat gave up hyperspace gate codes. Even a few Zerati, once enemies of humanity, sent encrypted navigational data from border syndicates. Because in the growing dark of the galaxy, the Chainbreakers became myth. A hopeful myth. Not just of revenge, but of justice. One delivered in silence and fire. A broadcast too late. Desperate, the Silinar Emperor made a live broadcast to Earth. "We acknowledge your outrage. We are prepared to release the humans in our custody. Let us discuss peace." Earth's response came 1 hour later. Not through a politician. Not even through an ambassador. It came through Chainbreaker Command. One video. A Silinar slave hub. Empty cells. Slaver corpses neatly stacked outside. A single sentence burned across the screen. "Too late." And then the numbers dropped. Within 72 hours, 87% of all known human prisoners in the galaxy were gone from the slaver registries. Not dead. Gone. Freed. Across dozens of worlds, local populations reported seeing humans in refugee tents. Hospitals took in wounded ex-prisoners. Entire slaver ports went dark without warning. No one saw the extractions. They just happened. It was the fastest, most coordinated prisoner recovery operation in galactic history. And not one government admitted to planning it. But every being in the galaxy knew. This was Earth's doing. This was humanity's answer. Odes in the ashes. The Silinar slave hub designated T-89 Black Spire was the last known facility holding human captives. Until 5 hours ago. The surveillance feed now showed nothing but a smoldering crater where the fortress had stood. The fusion reactor core hadn't gone critical. It had been manually collapsed inward, causing a localized black hole pinch. The signatures matched human anti-slavery strike doctrine. Brutal precision, high risk, zero civilian fallout. No escape. No ransom. No warning. Only one signal was found afterward, broadcast across every major comm frequency in Silinar space. "Dear aliens, we don't do ransom payments. We don't do negotiations with monsters. We do justice." It wasn't signed. It didn't need to be. The chain insignia glowed behind the message. And with that, the Chainbreaker War ended. Galactic reaction, terror and awe. The syndicates, once the wealthiest power block outside the Galactic Council, collapsed overnight. Their banking networks were obliterated. Their leadership vanished, either assassinated or in permanent hiding. Entire races with histories of neutral silence began offering up locations of regrettable facilities to Earth in exchange for immunity. For the first time in recorded interstellar law, being human was enough to dissolve a slaver's empire. One terrified Relian cartel leader tried to explain it on a pirate broadcast. They don't threaten. They warn. Then you stop existing. You think you're watching justice. You're actually witnessing a force of nature. Humanity's silence, and what it meant. What shook the galaxy most wasn't Earth's power, it was Earth's restraint. The United Terran government never declared war. They never demanded reparations. They never gave speeches. They simply sent in their ghosts, rescued their people, then left. And in doing so they rewrote the rules of war. The galaxy had long operated on diplomacy, treaties, balance of threat. But humans operated on memory. They didn't forget the cries in the dark. They didn't forget who was taken. And they didn't care about politics when it came to chains. The last slaver's plea. On the edge of dead space, a Silinar ex-governor, one of the last living slaver lords, broadcast a live message from an unregistered mining moon. Please? I surrender. I have families with me. I'll give up the vault codes. I'll testify against the Empire. Oh. He didn't finish. The camera feed blinked once, then showed the room empty. The words "no deals" burned across the feed. The chain breakers had struck again. No fanfare. No torture. No public executions. Just erasure. Girl once taken. 2 years after the final liberation, a little alien girl stood beside a tall human man on the gardens of New Nairobi. Her name was Tila. She had once been taken in chains. The man beside her, Commander Marcus Rell, had led the chainbreaker strike team that rescued her from Omlin 47. She tugged at his sleeve. Why didn't you ask for ransom? He smiled. Not bitter. Just tired. Because, he said kneeling, you're not a thing to buy back. You're a person. You never belonged to them. So we didn't pay. We came to get you. That's what family does. Tila nodded solemnly. But I wasn't your family. You are now. The legacy. The Chainbreaker Protocol was officially retired 18 years later. But its legacy remained in the new laws passed across the stars. Humanity had done the unthinkable. They ended galactic slavery. Not by committee. Not by speech. But by action, fire, and uncompromising principle. Every child taken. Every chain forged. Every gate guarded. Every scream ignored. Humanity remembered it all. And then they came. Final words to the stars. In a sealed archive, available to anyone who searched deep enough, was the last Chainbreaker transmission. If you're reading this, then you're wondering how we did it. It wasn't weapons. It wasn't stealth tech. It wasn't even Earth's resources. It was resolve. The kind that says no more. No more chains. No more children in cages. No more pretending evil can be tolerated because it's profitable. So to those still out there, still thinking about reviving the trade, remember, we're not watching. We're already moving. Burn your chains. Or be buried in them.